My name's Simon Utley. I'm the head teacher of St Paul's Catholic College, which is a mixed 11 to 18 school in Sunbury on the outskirts of London. St Paul's is a very exciting place to work. I've been here just over a year now, and my approach has been to improve St Paul's, and the rest of the staff share that vision as well. So everything we do is about improvement. We live and breathe school improvement, and I'm delighted to say that the children have very much come with us on that journey too. Part of that improvement has got to be to embrace the idea of every child matters, not as a piece of jargon, but as a sense that, that if children really matter at school, what are we doing to ensure that each one is a person rather than a number, an individual rather than a means to an end. And Securus offered us the chance to make sure that children were being protected from misuse externally or indeed internally through the use of the dynamic software that allows us to capture what's going on the screen. I think for a long time there's been a number of passive solutions available on the market, blocking type software, where website addresses, URLs and so on will come in and there'd be a listing of bad sites and so on. But as we all know, children are ever more sophisticated in the use of ICT. They can get round these things, and they often do so not with any malice, but just because why do you climb a mountain? Because it's there. And what we wanted to do was to provide an opportunity not just to block software, but to capture what was going on the screen, so that as well as protecting children and protecting staff, we were able to follow that up with investigation that actually got to the bottom of the problem. And that's been the big difference, and that's been the culture shift in terms of the use of ICT in this school. There was a Year 8 student recently who had been involved in some low-level disruptive behaviour. He'd also been accessing some material that wasn't appropriate. It wasn't particularly bad, but it was not appropriate. And what we were able to do with his parents was to sit down and go through what was actually happening in the classroom. And his parents were quite taken aback, first of all, that we could do that, and secondly, that perhaps his story to them slightly differed from what we were saying to them as well. And in my job as head teacher, I'm constantly confronted by the need to reconcile parents' understanding of what happens in the school, many of whom, of course, weren't in school like we have schools today, with what the children are now routinely able to do because of increased technology. And that supported me in that dialogue with that parent. And the parent went away actually complimenting the school that we had such a dynamic piece of software, and that was a good resolution. We have a learning platform which I'm very committed to, and which we've trained all the staff in the school, including support staff, to use and to access. For me, the learning platform will, within a year or two, just be routine in all schools. And if that's the world that we're heading to very, very quickly, then clearly the security has got to be that much better and that much more dynamic, because so many things which in the past would have been done either on paper or through a different medium are now being used routinely with learning platforms. So there was no question in my mind when we invested in the learning platform, when we invested in the training, that hand in hand with that we needed to invest in an industry standard piece of software to protect users, to protect staff, and allow us to offer parents a view of ICT in schools which gave them a sense of trust and security. St Paul's is committed to working with primary schools in the area. What we say to other head teachers and what my technical staff say to their counterparts is we will help you, we will support you with the learning platform, but we do require you to take the security that comes from the Securus package, because increasingly schools are working together, they're working in relationship. And if we offer our own children that security, I feel duty-bound to say to heads in primary schools, you must do the same for your own children. So for me, the partnership between the Securus package and our learning platform is a really positive partnership, and I would embrace it entirely. Most primary schools couldn't afford the kind of software and even the hardware that secondary schools could afford. What we can offer primary schools is, first of all, that we have the server here, we host the server, we have the technical expertise that they don't have, and ultimately we can offer them a managed service, which means that we can give them far more than they would get normally. And we find that their response so far has been extremely positive. And they also feel increasingly that the idea of schools collaborating is actually beginning to mean something. From our point of view, the other good thing is that parents see that the primary and secondary sectors are becoming more and more integrated. St Paul's is part of a cluster, and I've been encouraging the other schools, particularly the primaries in the cluster, to look at drawing down Federation funding. I would encourage schools who want to look at this not to be pessimistic, not to be concerned about the bottom line, but to look what funding is available and look at what collaboration they can do with other schools, because the chances are they'll be pleasantly surprised. It would be nice to think that every time you sat down with a parent and said, this is what happened, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith, that they would believe that out of hand. Of course, the reality nowadays is they want to look at the evidence. And that's understandable in many ways. With Securus, we're able to present them with evidence which is specific to the child, specific to where the child was, and will actually show them what the child was accessing. And we find that extremely powerful. And as well as providing evidence to follow up from a disciplinary point of view, most importantly, parents go away, even if they're upset with their son or daughter, they go away very, very impressed with the security that St Paul's is offering. And I'm delighted about that as head teacher. I think with the burgeoning of ICT in schools, even the most technophobic teacher needs to feel that they can deliver their lesson in security. And speaking to some of those technophobic colleagues, what they've said to me are things like, I feel I can now deliver the lesson safely and I have a sense of control over what's going on. We've had 2 or 3 occasions where students who've been going through difficult times, partly due to family circumstances, and also to relationship problems with friends and so on, which were bordering on bullying, did use the ICT within the school to articulate those concerns, and that was picked up. We were able then to refer the student to other professionals within the school to present them with, as it were, the evidence in a sensitive manner. And from then there was a very helpful dialogue between the student and our student counsellor. So yes, Securus has allowed us to do that, and that's something which before then we wouldn't have picked up. Securus have been very open to working with us, and I've been delighted with the relationship that's been set up with them, with my ICT technical team, and with myself as well. I feel that this relationship isn't just about today. It's not about buying an off-the-shelf package that's fit for purpose for 1 year. It's about building a relationship that will go from strength to strength.